And we are live. Hey, how is it going? It is your muscle building coach, Lee Hayward, here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, December the 27th. And this is going to be the final video chat now for 2019. So today, what I wanted to focus on is rather than just answering random questions, I wanted to kind of share some of my insights, some of the things that I learned over the past year when it comes to fitness, nutrition, and living a healthy, active, well-balanced lifestyle. And what I found is I'm constantly learning new things when it comes to this. Like, I don't claim to have it all figured out. And I find that when you approach it with that kind of open mindset that we don't have it all figured out, it makes it a lot easier to be open to new ideas and to grow and to continually evolve and very often even relearn things that you once thought you knew, right? Like I'm constantly relearning things when it comes to fitness and nutrition. We're learning things at a different level. And that's one thing to know something intellectually, as in to read something or to see it in a video or to understand it intellectually, and it's something totally different to actually know it internally, as in you're living it, you're doing it, you're applying it in your own life. And that's kind of some of the stuff that I want to just touch on today. So try and have a deeper conversation with you today versus just, what's the best exercise for building the chest, or what's the best source of protein, or does creatine work, or like general questions like that. Kind of get into some deeper level questions, things that are really going to help you to move forward now as we go into a new year, as we go into a new decade, 2020. I mean, where do you really want to take things, and kind of look to some of the lessons learned in the past to kind of take that stuff and apply it moving forward. So that's kind of the area that I want to go with this conversation today. So first off, before we go any further, I just want to make sure that this is coming through. Like, can you hear me? Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. Make sure the audio is coming through. Make sure the video is coming through. If it is, can you let me know in the video chat there? Let me know if this is coming through loud and clear. And one thing that I would encourage you to do, I mean, if for as far as questions and topics of discussion and things like that, type in some of the things that you are personally struggling with when it comes to fitness, nutrition, getting yourself in shape, things that have been challenging you. If there's anything in particular that you've really struggled with over the last year and you would like to kind of conquer in the year coming forward, let me know in the video chat. So, I mean, give it some thought now and let me know if there's anything that you would like some help with, and we can kind of bring that into the discussion there today. And of course, if you do have any questions at all, feel free to post them in the chat, and I'll do the best that I can to share those and answer those over the course of the video chat today. So I just got a couple little things that I'm organizing here on my end, and then we'll be ready to go very, 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 very soon. All right, let's go. Gotcha. Cool. All right, got that closed off. All right, first off, okay, it's coming through loud and clear. We got several people tuning in. All right, so we have Tex Pop, Dan, Ted, Jamie, Steve, Jalal. All right, good stuff, good stuff. Steve got mentioned there, has trouble with consistency with his diet is the biggest issue. Okay, that's a good one. That's a huge one that a lot of people relate to. Any other struggles, anything else? I know this chat, like I said, I just come on live. People are tuning in, coming on board right now. And basically, I just want to kind of recap again. What we're going to focus on is this chat is going to be kind of like a review of 2019, a review of some of the biggest lessons that I've learned over the past year. And this 2019 is kind of like a transitional year for me. I mean, I'm 40 years. Well, I turned 40 in 2018. So I lived, 40 and 19, and then October I had my 41st birthday. So I'm in that second half of life right now, right? And things are a bit different in your 40s compared to in your 20s and 30s. Like, I find that every time you hit an age with a 0 on the end of it, it causes you to like reevaluate things, right? Like, as you're growing up, it's like each birthday you have with a 0 on the end of it, it gives you that next phase of life, right? Like as you're growing up. So I mean, like going through your teenage years, you have one priority, one objective and stuff like that. And then in your 20s, you know, you're becoming a grown up and you're getting into your own. And then in your 30s, okay, you're supposed to be growing up and you really don't have things figured out. And then of course in your 40s, now you're transitioning into the kind of that second half of life. And yeah, things evolve. And especially when it comes to your fitness, your nutrition, and how do you fit all this stuff in and live a healthy, balanced life. And I find that as people get older, their priorities change a lot, right? It's not just ego training. It's not just, you know, being the biggest or the strongest. A lot of times as you get older, it becomes health and living a long, active, healthy lifestyle and being around for your family. That's something that I hear a lot of when I'm working with people, working with coaching students and stuff like that. It takes on a deeper meaning. And kind of just, you know, to really back up here with it, what got me involved with fitness right from the start is when I was younger. I mean, I like a lot of people, I mean, I got picked on and bullied in school. That was a big thing that was at that stage of my life was very traumatic, right? I mean, that was a big thing that really had a big impact. And I looked to, you know, how can I build myself up physically so that the bullies wouldn't pick on me? And that actually led me to martial arts. So before I got involved with bodybuilding or fitness or weight training, any of that stuff, I was drawn to martial arts. So I started off doing that at a young age. My father and I, we actually joined a local martial arts class. It was a kung fu class. And I did that for several years and really enjoyed it. You know, made big improvements in terms of, you know, building the self-discipline and getting in shape. That all comes with martial arts training. And what happened is my father actually got injured in a car accident, right? He hurt his neck in a car accident. And where we were going together, you know, it was a father and son thing. So it was great bonding time with me and my dad at the time. And I really appreciate him for doing that with me. But where he got injured, he stopped. And of course, when he stopped, I mean, that was my connection for going to martial arts. I mean, I'm only a kid. You know, at the time, I started martial arts when I was 7 years old, right? So, I mean, it's not like I could go there by myself. So as soon as he stopped going to it, then, of course, I stopped going to it for several years. And around that time, that's when I started to get more involved and interested in weight training. And the big thing that really did it for me, which kind of opened my eyes to weight training, is one, I remember seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Conan the Barbarian movies, right? They actually... The movie was out for several years, and I actually watched a replay of it on TV, and I seen it, and I was like, man, like there's actually a guy who has muscles just like you see in a comic book superhero. So Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Conan the Barbarian movies was the first time I ever seen a man with muscle, right? Before then, I didn't know what bodybuilding was or anything like that, but I was just like was obsessed with that, and I'm like, man, I want to have a physique like that someday. So I would... you know, start doing stuff at home, like push-ups and sit-ups and things like that in my bedroom at home, thinking, you know, if I do this every day for a full year, then I'm going to have a physique like Arnold. Now, it never actually worked out that way, but it kind of started to lay that foundation. And then I started to get interested in bodybuilding. I remember going to the grocery store one time, like now that my mind was open to the idea of bodybuilding, right? I remember seeing the magazine rack, and there was a copy of Muscular Development on the magazine rack. And I told my dad, I said, I want to get that magazine. And actually had Lee Haney was on the cover. And I believe it was 1990 was the year, right? And this was when he was, you know, right at his prime, winning the Mr. Olympia. Had a big picture of Lee Haney on the cover. And I got that magazine and read it cover to cover. And that really opened my eyes to bodybuilding and weight training and all that kind of stuff. So then I started getting all the magazines, right? Like every time I get another magazine, every time that I could, when we go to the grocery store, right? I always be reading the magazines, and that really kind of like planted the seed for me. And of course, at that stage, my big motivating factor was I just wanted to build up my confidence, right? Because I was a young kid, I was getting bullied, I had low self-esteem, and I just wanted to build myself up. And I did that through weight training. Then as the years went on, I got introduced to competitive bodybuilding, right? Because back in those days, we had our local bodybuilding shows, and they used to air the bodybuilding competitions on our local cable station. So we had one competition a year. It was always every November. They had the Newfoundland Provincial Championships. And I remember seeing some bodybuilders on the local cable station, and they were talking with these people, and like, these people were local. I'm like, whoa, like, people right here, right in our small town, are actually doing this stuff. So I said, man, that's cool. And I became obsessed with following along with that. And then I remember hearing on the radio, they said, the Newfoundland Provincial Bodybuilding Championships is coming up. It was in November of 1995. And I said, you know what, I'm going to get ready for that show. So I had been training for several years up to that point, like down in our basement home gym. This is one that my dad had put together for us down in the basement. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to compete in that show. And I was so naive at the time, thinking, man, I'm going to win that show. I'm going to enter that. I was only 16 years old at the time. I said, I'm going to train hard and I'm going to enter that show and I'm going to win. I had no coach or nobody helping me. I was just running on pure enthusiasm and that naivety of a teenager who thought they knew everything. And I just busted my ass, trained for it. And I was still in high school at the time. And I competed in the 1995 Newfoundland Provincial Bodybuilding Championships. Of course, I got my ass kicked. I mean, most of the guys I was competing against were in their 20s and 30s and had so much more muscle maturity and stuff like that. And, but it was a big learning lesson. And the thing that really helped me then is a lot of those older guys seen me and they're just so, they had that admiration for this young guy who was so enthusiastic about bodybuilding, and they kind of took me under their wing. And I became good friends with a lot of the local competitors who helped me. And, some of the guys I became friends with and would train with them in the gym and just hang out with them and talk with them and just learn through good old fashioned interaction, right? To have that kind of connection. And that's where it really started to help me. And this was before the days of the internet. So, I mean, you couldn't just go on Google and search for something. Like this was before there was an internet, right? So having those real world connections and really helped. And that's how it all started. Like, that's what it started for me. I mean, so throughout my teenage years and then into my 20s, my main motivating factor for doing all this was I wanted to be good at competition. I mean, I had that dream of one day I wanted to win a local bodybuilding competition. I wanted to be Mr. Newfoundland. That was my goal at the time. And I kept training at it and pursuing that year after year after year, because that was my goal. And that was my motivating drive at the time. Now, fast forward, like as you get older, the goals and motivations change, right? Like right now, like my drive and motivation is not bodybuilding competitions or anything like that. Like at the time, I was so naive that I thought that one of these days I'd probably win the Mr. Olympia competition. If I train hard and everything else, I said one of these days I could be a Mr. Olympia too. I mean, I didn't know there was such a thing as performance-enhancing drugs or anything like that, or genetics. Like none of that. I was so naive. I didn't know any of that stuff. I just thought, hey, if you just work hard, like you can do it. And that's the kind of the mentality. And I miss those days of just having that pure innocence, right? The pure innocence, the pure just being so naive. I mean, it's almost refreshing in a way to have that kind of, child innocence, right? That I had back then, those days. But that was where I was. And of course, as the internet came on and, more information became available, and I started, working my way up through the bodybuilding ranks and talking to more people and learning the sport and everything else. And I learned so much, right? I learned so much just through real world trial and error experience. And I mean, I cherish those moments. I really do. And then, of course, as the internet evolved and I started my own website, for those of you who don't know how I got involved with internet marketing and then my own bodybuilding website and stuff like that and coaching people online, bodybuilding for me was a passion right from the get-go. And I went to school and studied computers back in the late 90s. And one of our courses was a course on how to develop websites and just basic HTML websites. So back in 1997, for a school project, I created a bodybuilding website, a very basic website. And I put that online for my school project, and that's how it got started. From that, things just went from there. People started to find my website because there was so little competition online. I mean, anybody who just searched bodybuilding, boom, I was showing up in the search engines because there was so little online. And I made a lot of connections, in the fitness industry, if you will, just because I was that guy online who had a website, and it just kind of went from there. So I mean, really, over the years, things have evolved so much, but now I'm at the stage where I'm older. It's it's not about the ego so much. It's not about, winning competitions or being the biggest or the strongest or anything like that. It's about living a healthy, active lifestyle. And of course, now that I'm a father, I want to set a good example for my son. And I'm looking back and I'm thinking like how my father was so supportive of me back in the day. I want to be that kind of support system for my son and even take it to another level. So I want to practice what I preach, because one of the things I've known, as a parent, that kids don't listen to what you say, they see what you do. So I mean, you can tell them to do something, but they're not going to listen. But if you actually do it yourself, then they're going to take notice. And like a lot of parents, when we're having discussions with friends and family and fellow parents who have young children, like a lot of them are saying, well, I have trouble getting my kid to eat vegetables and things like that. Like, my son loves vegetables, and it's not that I'm trying to force him to eat vegetables or to eat clean. It's just he sees daddy eating clean all the time, and guess what? He wants to eat what daddy's eating. So it's just teaching by example. So I have to be the best that I can be. I have to live this healthy, active lifestyle and do all the right things so that he sees it indirectly and that he wants to follow along. So that's my main motivating drive at this stage. Like, I don't want to be the fat, out of shape dad who's trying to tell, their son to live right. Or another common one you see a lot of, like, parents drink and smoke and do bad habits, and then they try and tell their kids, don't do that, right? Daddy's got a beer in one hand and a cigarette in the other, but don't you drink and smoke while they're doing it. Like, the kids don't hear what you say, they see what you do. So that's why my goal now is to be a good, positive role model for him. And that's my main motivating drive at this stage of the game. So it's taken a full turn, and now it's not just a short-term, get ripped quick type of program or look good for a photo or a competition or something like that. It's, I want to be like this day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out, and have it as a lifestyle approach, right? Be in shape year round, not have to get ready to be in shape. Because back in my bodybuilding days, that's the way I approached it. I could get myself in shape, right? Give me a contest and a deadline and everything else, and I could, put on the blinders, go on some crazy pre-contest cutting diet, do hours of cardio, bust my ass, get in shape, and look good for pictures and photos. But it wasn't maintainable. It wasn't something that I enjoyed doing, right? It was something that I was doing like it was a means to an end, and the end was always, to get in shape for the competition or whatever. But as soon as that competition was over, then I'd go back to my old habits of, eating too much and just gain all the weight back again, right? So, I mean, I've always struggled with my weight. I was always kind of that chubby, skinny, fat kid growing up, and I've always struggled with my weight. So I needed to come up with a system to be able to have a healthy maintenance approach. And that's what I try and live now, where I'm lean year round, not shredded, but lean and comfortable, so that I can do things without my body holding me back. Like, I can go to the swimming pool, take my son swimming, and, not be embarrassed to take my shirt off at the pool. And, where in the past I used to be, right? I mean, if you've seen some of my pictures, not too long ago, just a few years ago, I mean, I was overweight, out of shape, 40+ inch waistline. Even though I was, former competitive bodybuilder, here I was just let myself go because I didn't have a system where I could maintain a lean, healthy lifestyle as a long-term solution. It was always this quick fix, crash diet, get ready for a show, going to the extremes, hating the process, but liking the end result, but having such an extreme approach where once I got to that end result, I couldn't maintain it. And that's something that I've changed the focus. So it's a big 180 turn for me. And that's what I really focus on when I'm helping people now, my coaching students, and that it's not the extreme all or nothing approach. It's how can we be making these slow, steady progress over the long term so that you get in shape. And more importantly, how can you stay healthy, stay in shape, right? Getting in shape is easy. Staying in shape is hard. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially if you've been around the fitness industry, around the whole iron game, working out, the gym scene, all that stuff. If you've been around it for any length of time, you've probably seen people get in shape, but then staying in shape is the hard part. And this is something that I can relate to. Like, when I sometimes run into people that I used to compete with back in the day, like say we're out to the stores or something like that, or out in public, and then every now and then I run into somebody that I met, that I used to know years ago through bodybuilding, and I see him now, and I'm like, I got to look at him twice sometimes to like, is that really, whoa, like, is that really you, John? Like, whoa, I mean, like, and because sometimes they've let themselves go. Like, I mean, they might have been a lean, ripped, shredded bodybuilder back when I knew him when we were competing. And now, that same guy is 50 pounds overweight and doesn't even go to the gym anymore. So I see that a lot. Like, it's easy to get in shape, a lot harder to stay in shape. So that's my main goal at this stage. How do you stay in shape? That's the biggest challenge I find for most people. So over this video chat today, we're going to kind of talk about some of the deeper issues that a lot of people have when it comes to health and fitness, and making this a lifestyle, not just the short-term quick fix solutions, right? There's enough short-term quick fix solutions. You go on Google, you go on the YouTube, you can find all kinds of crazy crash diet plans, drop 30 pounds in 30 days type of quick fix approach. Some of them may work or not to certain degrees, but again, it's not a lifestyle approach. And that's what I'm really focusing on now at this stage of the game. All right, so that's kind of where we are with this video chat, and seeing it's the last one of the year, let's just kind of have a review of some of the main things, and feel free as we're chatting here today, you can even share some of the things that you've had some insights with. Like if there's anything over the last year or so that you've, especially if you're a guy over 40, I encourage you to participate in this video chat today and share, some of the insights that you've probably had over the, as you've matured when it comes to your fitness and nutrition, and some of the challenges you're dealing with, and some of the things that you've learned, right? Like whether that could be like how to eat, how to work out, mistakes that you made, anything like that. Feel free to share that kind of stuff. All right, so let's see again. I'm just going to scroll through here now and just see. We got a lot of comments coming through. And again, if you're brand new to these video chats, if you've never tuned into one of these before, let me know. Just type the letter N if you're brand new to this video chat. And if you're a regular, which I do see a lot of familiar names and familiar avatars there in the chat, then post the letter R if you are a regular. All right, so one thing that I want to really touch on when it comes to training and having this as a lifestyle approach is the all or nothing mentality. And this is one that I've struggled with a lot, is the all or nothing mentality. And I find that competitive bodybuilders are famous for this one. And I'm going to just like share how this works. It's there's no middle ground. It's like I'm either not dieting or I am following some crazy strict pre-contest cutting diet. I'm not doing any cardio at all, or I'm doing like 2 hours of cardio a day, right? I'm not working out, or I'm going to the gym 6 days a week. It's this boom, boom. And this all or nothing mentality, while it does work if you are in the all phase, and it can work for the short term, and you will see people who, for whatever reason, they just get motivated, and everyone has their own reasons for motivation. But when they get into that zone where they're doing, they're in that all phase, you can make some really good progress. But the problem with it is it's fueled by willpower, and willpower is a very finite resource when it comes to fitness, nutrition, or achieving your goals, anything like that. I mean, I'm going to gear it towards fitness and nutrition because that's, this is obviously a bodybuilding and fitness channel, but it applies to so many other aspects of life as well. Like it could be in business, it could be in your personal development or any other endeavors. It could be in your studies if you're a student. Like you can make progress with the all or nothing approach, but it's not sustainable when it's ran on pure willpower. You need to have a system in place that is run on habits, default habits that you do automatically on the subconscious without conscious effort. Once you have that in place, and your default habits, the things that you resort to doing without consciously forcing yourself, without consciously thinking about it, once you have those habits and they're actually productive habits, it makes the process so much easier. If you have to constantly force yourself and it's a struggle to go to the gym, it's a struggle to do your cardio, it's a struggle to eat healthy. If it's always a struggle, it's only short term. But if you get it to the point where you actually enjoy it and it's just what you do without even consciously thinking about it, then it becomes that's how you live the lean, healthy lifestyle. And if you've seen some people who are lean and healthy, and it's like you just wonder, like, how do they do it? They have this in place. It's because that's their new default settings. It's almost like changing the settings on your compass, right? Like if you just let the compass go, it's always going to point north. Well, you want to change. Like if your default setting is pointing you in the direction of getting fat and out of shape, you need to change that compass so that the default settings is pointing you towards, constantly getting lean and healthy instead of getting fat and overweight, right? You just need to kind of change those settings. And it's simple, but it's difficult at the same time. It's simple in theory, but it's difficult in application, right? That's one thing I've really found over the last year, working with a lot of guys one-on-one, is most people know what they need to do, but doing what they know is the hard part. And that's where habits come into play. And making these small little decisions in the moment can really make a huge difference with this. So one thing, again, getting back to the all or nothing approach, when you have that mentality, very rare are you going to get all, and more often than not, you're going to end up with nothing. and I'm going to share some examples with you. Back when I would be competing in bodybuilding, that would take over my life. Like for 3 months before a competition, like that was it. Like that's all I focused on. Everything else would get pushed to the sidelines. Like work, school, like when I was younger and going to school, like that would get pushed. Like I remember sometime I did a show it was in 1997. I was in college, and I also competed in a show that semester. And that was the worst semester I ever did in college because my studies took a dive because I was so focused and had this all or nothing mentality towards my training for the bodybuilding show. So bodybuilding competition basically consumed my life. So I managed to scrape through that semester in college, just barely passing, but I wasn't putting the effort or the dedication to my studies that I should have been. And of course, family and relationships got pushed to the sides. Like I would not go out to any social events. Like friends would go going out partying and socializing, or family get-togethers and stuff like that. And I'd constantly like, no, can't do it. I'm on a diet. I got to train for the show. I got to stick to my plan. So for months on end, every single year that I was competing, I would go through that phase of that all or nothing. So when I was in pre-contest mode, like I was just like a monk, like just living in this little bodybuilding bubble. And I just would push out the entire outside world. Like nothing else mattered other than sticking to my plan and trying to get in peak contest shape. And the thing is, it would work, right? It would work. I mean, I would manage to get in shape for the competition. And of course, people would see the pictures and the videos and all that after, and like, whoa, you look great. But then a few months later down the road, I'd be just so burnt out from it. I would be like, as soon as that contest was over, I would start pigging out on junk food because I couldn't control myself. I was so sick of doing endless hours of cardio that I would just stop doing all forms of cardio because I couldn't stand it. And then I would internally justify what I was doing because I'd say to myself, well, now is my off season, so I'm going to bulk up. And, I justify all the extra weight I was gaining. I say, well, yes, I'm gaining weight, but I'm bulking up, so I'm going to gain some muscle for next year, and I'm going to be bigger and better for next year. And what I've found is bulking up is really just an excuse for getting fat. There is a time and a place for an extremely skinny, genetically, slim person to quote unquote bulk up. But for the majority of people, bulking up is a mistake. That's one thing that I've learned over the last, several years. Most people do not need to bulk up. All right. That is a mistake. And focus on quality, slow quality gains over trying to bulk up and get bigger is one thing that I'm not an advocate of bulking anymore. Like in the past, I used to justify it, and basically all it was an excuse to let myself get fat and out of shape. Right. That's how I justify bulking. And the way it was back in the day with my website and that, I would never post my fat pics. Very few, right? I would, like, when I was fat and out of shape, I would shy away from the camera. And of course, in the weeks leading up to the contest, when I was in shape, that's when I would, break out the camera and take pictures and stuff. So most of my old pictures and that were always when I was lean and in shape. and you wouldn't see the fat out of shape, even though I do have a few of them. All right, I do have a few of those pictures kicking around, and they were usually pictures that were taken of me, not with my consent, if you will. Like, right, there's one that I've posted up. You've probably seen it. I'm actually wearing a pair of what was it? It was a Christmas day back in somewhere in the mid 2000s. I think it was around 2005 or something like that. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she bought me the pair of Scooby-Doo boxer shorts as a joke, right? So I put them on, and she actually snapped a picture of me, and I didn't realize how fat I was. So I was actually laughing in the picture. But then when you look at it, I mean, my gut was sticking out further than my chest, and I had on these stupid Scooby-Doo boxer shorts. And like that was, I have that picture up on my website. You've probably seen it, but I mean, like, my gut was huge. I was at my fattest ever. Like, I was 240 pounds and only 5'6" tall, totally fat and out of shape. And here I was thinking that, I was bulked up. Like, in my mind's eye, I thought I was muscular, even though I was just sloppy fat. I mean, that's what I would let myself get to, because I had that all or nothing mentality. So it was like, I was either cutting or I was bulking. And of course, for me, bulking was just massive amounts of food, like, and was not clean food either. I mean, it didn't matter if it was it could be, steak and potatoes, or it could be pizza and protein shakes. Like, that was my bulking diet, right? I mean, I would eat all kinds of crap and just let myself get fat and out of shape. Whereas now I've learned to master the in-between, master the middle. So instead of that all or nothing mentality, master balance. And the crazy thing is, it doesn't take an extreme approach to make some life-altering changes. Like, as long as you just tip the scale in favor of doing a little bit more to move you in the right direction than you are to move you in the wrong direction, then you can make progress and maintain that progress over the long term. And one of the things now that I really focus on is, like, you don't have to eliminate any foods from your diet. Like, you can still enjoy your favorite foods in moderation, but that's the key, moderation. And it's a different mindset. And I find that when you allow that moderation, it makes it so much easier to manage. Because back in my old extreme bodybuilding days, I would like chicken breasts and broccoli and baked potatoes and just live on those basic foods like that for months on end. And I mean, that is pure torture. Like, I would not allow a cheat meal. I would not allow myself to deviate from those set foods. And again, yes, that works, but it's not fun, and it was torture. Whereas now, like, I have balance. Like, yes, I eat clean and healthy most of the time, but I still enjoy myself. I mean, here it is just after Christmas. I mean, Christmas dinner and all that. Like, I didn't hold back. I had dessert after Christmas dinner and everything else. But because I'm doing more to move myself in the right direction than I am to pull myself in the wrong direction, I'm still able to maintain or make progress with my fitness and fat loss goals versus that all or nothing mentality. So that's one thing that you really need to cut out, is focus on the middle. Focus on that, that lifestyle, that balanced approach, if you really want to make this work. All right. What else? I've got a lot of questions coming through here, a lot of things. Cool. All right. So that was one thing that I want to share. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to jump in and kind of cover some of the comments and things that we have going here. And then as we get into the discussion, I'll share some more of my insights and lessons learned over the past year. So I don't want to neglect everyone who's tuning in here now. Let's see. We have Jesse joining in. He says, been over a month since he caught a live video. Good to be back. Hey, welcome. We have James tuning in. He says he's just turned 60. Hey, welcome, James. And you know what? It's never too late to get yourself back in shape. I have several of my coaching students who are actually in their 60s. One who's made some phenomenal progress is Paul. I actually did a case study of Paul on my website. He started working out in his 60s. He went from totally overweight, out of shape, not focusing on his health or anything, like not like a lot of people who was an athlete growing up or working out on and off for years. Like, Paul did not focus on his fitness at all, like nothing. Then in his 60s, he was at his fattest, very unhealthy, ended up having a heart attack, almost died of a heart attack in his 60s. And then that was his wake-up call. Like, he needs to turn something around. Like, he needs to make a change. Started working out in his 60s, and now, I mean, obviously, no, he's not a bodybuilder or anything like that, but you look at the transformation that that man has made, it's like night and day. And he is now, I'm not sure if he's 65 right now or 66. I'll have to double check. But, like, he is like a poster boy of health at this stage of the game, and like at 65 years of age, and he only started a few years ago. Like, the transformation that he has made is mind blowing. And of course, all his friends and his family members, and he's a teacher, and of course, his students. Like, he's a changed man because he's applied what we're covering here. You know, the habits, the lifestyle choices, just making exercise and healthy eating part of his routine. You know, making it habits that he does without conscious effort. So, I mean, it's just part of who he is. I mean, it's total transformation. So that's one thing that a lot of people think that, oh, I'm too old, why bother? No, I mean, there's always time. Like, if you don't start now, then what's going to happen is years down the road, you're going to be wishing that you had started now. Like, you'll never be as young as you are right now. So instead of wishing and hoping and saying, oh, I wish I had started when I was younger, I wish I started when I was in my 20s, or start now. Like, you the only moment you have is the present moment. So, like, take action, start now, right? Focus on improving from this day forward. But again, glad that you're joining us. We've got Christian tuning in, asking about some set and rep patterns. Okay, we can get into that. That's some stuff we're going to do. We've got Nicholas joining in. Okay, John covering in some questions about sets and reps, you know, the ideal sets and reps. And so that's some of the stuff I want to be talking about, because my theory on the ideal workouts has changed a lot over the years, especially for guys who are a bit older, and your goal is not to be the biggest and strongest guy in the gym, but to have a long, lean, healthy lifestyle. That's something that has changed a lot. Okay, we've got Oscar tuning in. He says he's had some back injury, and so we can talk about injuries as well. Gotcha there. Okay, a lot of Jalal, I think it is joining in. He wants to know about different food options when dieting. Okay, good workout program. All right. A lot of specific questions there. And this is stuff that I do want to get into, but I just wanted to see if there was any like big topic insights, because that's what I really wanted to focus on today's chat. So I'm just skimming through the chat here now just to see what kind of questions and who's got joining in. We got Jonas joining in again, Chris, Jesse, Roshan, all regulars here. Hamaz is joining in, David, Dennis, First Revenge, Alex. Cool, we got a lot of people tuning in. Ralph is asking, how do you get rid of bad habits and start making new ones? That is a good one right there. I'm definitely going to talk on that. Shoulder injuries. Okay, that's another one. This is from Tex. All right, back to basics. Good. All right. Okay, let's just talk about workouts in general. All right, this is a big one. As one of the things I find, and this is a big mistake that a lot of people make, and as we're coming on to the new year, you know, you have a lot of people who are starting working out again, the whole New Year's resolution type of scenario. One of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of people make is they make working out too big. They try and do too much too soon, and it's not sustainable, it's not maintainable, and it's kind of like having this sprint to the finish type of mentality. Like, imagine running a marathon, right? Like getting in shape is very much like running a marathon, and you have to pace yourself in order to be able to run a marathon. Like, you cannot sprint to the finish in a marathon. The marathon is too long. Like, even the most elite runners in the world cannot sprint to the finish in a marathon. You just physically cannot do it. And the same applies when it comes to getting in shape. And what I see very often is New Year's is going to roll around, January 1st, the gym is going to be packed. So many people are going to like, this is it. Get myself in shape. I'm fed up with being fat and overweight and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to turn it around. And they're going to be going to the gym. They're going to be following some crazy strict diet. And they're just going to be like burning the candle at both ends, doing too much too soon with the hopes of seeing fast, rapid results. And you have to realize, like, if you're overweight and out of shape, you didn't get there in the matter of weeks or in the matter of months. I mean, it's something that took years. Sometimes it took decades to get to that point. So to think that you're going to turn it around in the matter of a few weeks is ludicrous. No, you can't undo bad habits in the matter of a few weeks. It's just not going to happen. So what you need to do is start off small. Start off very small and make it easy. And one of the things, like as far as habits are concerned, one habit that I would encourage everyone, especially if your goal is fat loss, daily walking, getting off your ass and going for a walk every single day. And it doesn't have to be grand. Like when I was competing in bodybuilding, I thought, well, if I can't dedicate at least 45 minutes to cardio, what's the point? It's not worth it because I won't get into my target fat burning zone and everything else. It's pointless. So if I didn't have 45 minutes to do cardio, then guess what? I wouldn't do cardio. I always waited until I had enough time to make it worthwhile. Or the same thing when it comes to working out. If I didn't have time to dedicate like 2 hours to go to the gym, then I said, well, what's the point? And I wouldn't go to the gym. But think of all the missed opportunities that I had because I had this stupid mental block thinking that I had to have a 45-minute cardio session or I had to have a 2-hour weight training workout. Now I take the approach of, if I've got 10 minutes, I can do a 10-minute walk, right? And like even throughout the day, like when I'm doing work or something, like maybe I have coaching calls with some of my students or whatever, I'll look at my schedule and I say, you know what? Hey, I got 20 minutes before my next coaching call. You know what? I'm going to get outside and go for a 10-minute walk. And this could be something that, hey, I'll take the dog for a walk around the block for 10 minutes or something like that, come back and then get ready for my next coaching call. Or maybe if I'm really busy and I'll say like I got 30 minutes, what can I do in 30 minutes in terms of a workout? So I might not have time to go to the gym, but I can go down in my home gym and I could do like a little mini circuit routine, for 30 minutes. And it could be, some body weight exercises. It could be some dumbbell exercises or whatever, but just pick a few different moves and like go through them in a circuit fashion. It doesn't have to be this big, grand, meticulous, well-structured program. Sometimes just the simplest things can make a difference. I'll tell you something as silly as it is, like even when I'm, preparing my meals and I'm in the kitchen there and I'm cooking something on the stove and, I'm like, even while I'm doing that, like sometimes while I'm waiting for the kettle to boil or waiting for this to cook or something, I might do some body weight exercises right there in the kitchen. Like I could do body weight squats. I can do jumping jacks. I mean, little things like that, even though it seems so silly and you might like, what's the point? It all adds up. Like if just, for example, like let's just say body weight squats. If over the course of the day, you did 100 body weight squats, and this is easy to do if you space it out over the day. I mean, you can do 10 sets of 10 squats spaced out over the day. I mean, it doesn't take any time out of your schedule, but it works. Like you do that, and then guess what? Over the course of several weeks, over the course of several months, you got all that extra training volume done, all that extra work, and it makes a difference. Like sometimes when I'm just doing some work on the computer or whatever, and then I want to get up for a little break, I just get up and I'll move around. I say, you know what? I'm going to do a set of squats. I'm going to do a set of push-ups. I'm going to do a set of jumping jacks. I'm going to do a set of ab work. And it takes like 5 minutes max, probably not even that, right? It just takes a few minutes, but boom, I got that work done. So my body's all energized. I've just moved. I've got my heart rate elevated a bit because, when you do a set of like push-ups, you do a set of squats, you do a set of jump jacks, I mean, your heart rate's elevated, you're breathing heavy. I mean, I just did that little mini workout and it took like no time out of my schedule. It's not like I had to get dressed and go to the gym and blah, blah, blah. It's just these little mini workouts. And that's what I encourage you to do, is like look for little opportunities throughout the day where you can squeeze in little bits of exercise. Even if it's like, say, going for a walk, like put on your sneakers, walk down the road for 5 minutes, turn around, walk back, get a 10-minute walk. Like on your lunch break, instead of just sitting around the cafeteria or sitting around your desk at work or whatever, take 10 minutes of that lunch break and go for a walk. Like, even though it seems so small and insignificant in the moment, look at the bigger picture. Like, imagine if you did that every day for a year, where would you be? Like, how much further ahead would you be if you did it every day for a year? These little tiny mini bursts of exercise. And the cool thing is once you start building that momentum, and it makes you feel better. And when you feel better, then you want to do more, right? When you feel bad and you kind of like don't have any hope for what it is you're doing, you think, well, what's the point? Right? And you kind of like give up, then you don't want to do anything. But if you start taking small action, small, simple action like that, it builds that positive momentum. And then once you get that ball rolling, it's easier to keep it rolling. And then you start to look for more opportunities where you can do some more. And then as you start to see some of the results from these little action steps that you're taking, then that fuels your fire to want to do even more. So you can have momentum work both ways, right? Momentum can carry you. I mean, you can use momentum to stay stuck in a rut, right? Like, or you can use momentum to help propel you forward. Like, just think of the way our Netflix and YouTube and all that is geared these days. Like, you get your ass sitting on the couch to watch a show of Netflix. Like, let's say you just commit to watching one Netflix show, and then you get yourself on the couch and you sit back and you're comfortable and you turn on the TV, you turn on Netflix. And then after that show's finished, guess what? Netflix automatically scrolls in the next series of the show. So here you are, you're sitting back, like, you don't need to do anything to keep that momentum moving forward. And then next thing you know, the second series of the show plays, and then you say, I'll watch this one. And the next thing you know, I'll watch the next one. And then you just spent like a couple hours sitting on the sofa watching Netflix shows because you had that momentum. I mean, granted, it's not positive momentum. It's momentum of just inactivity momentum, but it just happens, right? You committed to watching one show, and the next thing you know, you sat down and you watched 3 shows. So you sat your ass on the couch and you just wasted, a couple hours doing nothing. Whereas you can use the same mentality for positive momentum. Like, very often when I commit to going for a walk, like let's just say I'm just going to do 10 minutes, and then I go out there and I get the shoes on, I get out the door. Like, that's the hardest part of exercise, is just to get started, right? The hardest part of going for a walk is putting on your shoes and getting out the door. But once you've done that, then the rest is easy. Then you can carry on the momentum. And even though I very often commit to going for a 10-minute walk, very rare will I ever walk for 10 minutes, right? Sometimes I do, right, if I'm pressed for time. But a lot of times I get out there and it feels good. I get the momentum going. I'm like, I get the fresh air, and the endorphins are starting to move. The heart rate's elevating, the blood flow circulating, and breathing in the fresh air. I just feel good. Next thing you know, a half hour goes by, and I just went for a half-hour walk, even though I only committed to doing 10 minutes. Same applies with your workouts. If you can commit to doing little mini workouts throughout the day, that will carry over and very often help to extend into longer workouts. So start off super, super small. When you're trying to form a new habit, make it so small that it's a joke, right? It's so easy to do. Like, if you set it up in your mind saying, well, I got to go to the gym and do a 2-hour workout, like, that's a big task. And that's hard to do. It's hard to wrap your head around the idea of going to the gym and working out for 2 hours. But it's easy to wrap your head around the idea of, hey, I'm going to do a little 5-minute body weight circuit. I'm going to do a set of push-ups, a set of squats, a set of abs, and a set of jumping jacks. Like, hey, that's easy. I can do that. Only going to take me 5 minutes max. But bottom line, you do that, and then you build that momentum. And the next thing you know, you're going to start wanting to do more and more. And then it's going to lead to you to wanting to go to the gym and lead you to wanting to do more. So that's the key. You need to start off small. Make it so it's easy to succeed. Right? Make it so it's easy. It's almost like the mentality of, like, you're looking at eating junk food. Like, a lot of times people say, well, I'll just eat one potato chip, right? And then you take one chip and you say, well, geez, that tasted good. I'll eat another one. Geez, that tasted good. Next thing you know, you're scraping the bottom of the bag, right? Because that momentum led you in a negative direction. So you can use momentum both ways, right? Positive or negative. So you want to look for ways where you can have that positive momentum to carry you forward. And that's one of the big things when it comes to changing your habits and changing your viewpoints. Same thing with your nutrition. Like, one of the key habits that I've implemented over the past several years, but I've really kind of mastered it over the past year, is every single time I eat, I sit down to the table, I have two things that must happen. One, I must have some lean protein with that meal, and I must have some vegetables. Every meal, no matter what. I don't care if it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever. Every meal, I have to start with protein and veggies. Protein and veggies. What happens after that, can vary, but that is my one habit. So every time I eat, I always start with protein and veggies. Like, I'll never just sit down and start eating carbohydrates, or I'll never just start eating snacks or junk food or anything like that. It's always protein and veggies. Every time I'm hungry, like, you go into my refrigerator out there, like, we've got, I buy the big bags of these pre-made garden salads. I've got chopped up veggies in the fridge. Like, I buy the chopped veggie trays and stuff like that. So it's very quick, easy, convenient. I have the convenience of junk food, but it's health food. And same with protein. Like, I always keep some protein on hand. Like, I buy these pre-cooked chicken breasts that are ready to go. Even like cans of tuna fish, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, quick, easy sources of protein. You can even buy like boiled eggs that are already peeled and boiled and ready to eat. And I keep that kind of stuff in my refrigerator all times, so that I have the convenience of junk food, but it's health food. So every time I eat, even if it's just a quick in-between meal snack, it has to be protein and veggies, protein and veggies. And for those times when it's not convenient to have protein and veggies, then you can supplement. So like, if you can't have some solid food protein, like chicken, eggs, cottage cheese, meat, fish, dairy, whatever, then you can have a protein shake. That will cover your need for protein for that meal. So sometimes if I don't have solid food protein, my protein for that meal could be a protein shake. Same with vegetables. If I don't have any, like if I don't have a salad or some actual vegetables on hand, then I could have some greens powder. You can buy the containers of greens powder. I mean, just like you supplement your diet with protein powder to bump up your protein intake, you can supplement with greens powder to bump up your veggie intake. So in some cases, my protein and veggies for the meal might be supplemental, might be greens powder, might be protein powder. But regardless, every single meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, whatever, protein and veggies. It's a non-negotiable. If food goes in my mouth, it's protein and veggies first, and then I might fill up on some carbohydrates afterwards. Christmas Day and all that, or like if we're going out to a family get-together or something, I might have some desserts or something like that. But it's always after I've had protein and veggies. And the key here is you want to fill up on the good stuff first, because one, that's going to provide your body with the nourishment it needs. The high quality protein is going to help to build, repair muscle tissue. It's going to help to increase your metabolism. I mean, it aids with fat burning. Protein's the most thermogenic macronutrient. So you want to get that good quality protein in there. And you also want to balance it with vegetables. Vegetables and protein are like Batman and Robin, right? You need both. Like a lot of guys in the bodybuilding scene, they're big on the protein, but they're very slack on the veggies. But one of the things you need to realize is protein is naturally acidic. Like when you eat protein, there's a lot of, it increases acidity in your body. Vegetables are very alkaline. So when you combine them together, you help to balance out that acid-alkaline balance, and it provides your body with the nourishment it needs. So you get the plant-based nutrition, the phytonutrients and the phytochemicals and all the vitamins and the minerals and the natural enzymes and the fiber and all that good stuff that you get from vegetables. Plus you get the muscle building and tissue building benefits of the protein. That's the stuff you want to fuel your body with all the time. Protein, veggies. Like that's my mantra. That's non-negotiable, right? Like there's no such thing as me like grabbing a bag of potato chips as a snack, or coffee in a bagel, or whatever, or a muffin, or just like a carbohydrate meal. Like, how often do you see people do that? Like they say, "Oh, I'm going to have breakfast." What's breakfast? Coffee in a bagel, or a bowl of cereal and toast, or just filling up on empty carbohydrate calories, which is what so many people do. Instead, I always focus on the quality, the nutrient dense foods first, protein, veggies. And those are high volume foods. They help to fill up your stomach so that you're less likely to overeat on the carbohydrates or the not so good foods afterwards. Like if you have a good serving of protein, you're shooting for like maybe 40 to 50 grams of protein in a meal, and then you're having a big generous helping of vegetables, whether that's a big salad or some veggie sticks, or even if you have to, greens powder or something. That stuff is going to fill up your belly, and it's going to help to naturally curb your appetite so that you have less room for the not so good stuff afterwards. So it's a way that you can eat better, control your appetite, control your calorie intake, control your macros, all that without conscious effort or willpower, because you're just filling up your belly with the good stuff that you naturally just are not going to be able to eat as much of the junk. Whereas if you start eating junk right from the start, then it's easy to fill up on that, and then you have no room for the good stuff afterwards. I'd rather fill up on the good stuff and then just throw a little tiny bit of junk on top of it after, versus what most people do, fill up on the junk and then think, oh, well, I should have some good stuff. And then, they're already full and bloated from the junk that they don't want to eat the good stuff. So it's just rearranging, changing those little subtle habits. Right? Another big one, fluid intake, water. Like I always have a bottle of water with me wherever I go, right? A lot of people say they don't drink enough water. The reason you're not drinking enough water is because you're not making it quick and convenient. Like whenever I go anywhere, like I have a bottle of water here on my desk. I'll have a sip of it now while I'm talking to you. When I go anywhere in my car, I fill this up and take it with me. When I go to the gym, I fill it up and take it with me. Everywhere I go, if I go to a meeting or somewhere like that, I carry my bottle of water with me. It's something you can fill up, and just throughout the day, just little sips of water, so I never let myself get thirsty. And that's another habit. That's huge, because hydration is so important to your overall health and fitness. I mean, muscle is 75% water, right? Water helps aid with digestion. It helps all the body functions and processes. Another thing, a lot of times when we think we're hungry, we're really thirsty. So that's another little habit. Like in between meals, if I'm feeling a bit peckish and I'm saying, I'm a bit hungry, I'll go and have a glass of water, or sometimes even a couple glasses of water, and then wait 20 minutes and see if I'm still hungry. And a lot of times the water curbs my appetite, especially, for in between meal snacks, when you shouldn't be hungry and you probably are feeling a bit hungry and peckish, have some water instead, and that usually helps to control your appetite. So that's another habit that it's a simple one, but again, little things, all these little tiny things that in and of themselves don't seem like much, but when you start stacking them on top of each other, like just think of it. If you just made those simple changes, like in the new year, like coming on 2020, you made sure that like throughout the day, you did little 10-minute walks. Like even if you just started with 2 10-minute walks a day, maybe one on your lunch break, and then maybe another one in the evening after dinner, right? 2 little 10-minute walks. And then each meal you started with protein and veggies. And throughout the day you were drinking water, right? Like always have a bottle of water with you all the time. And that was all you did. I mean, just think of how that would change the course of your health, your fitness, and how you feel over the course of a year. Just those few little simple habits. I mean, it could be life-changing, because those simple things, they not only do they in and of themselves make a difference, but when stacked together, then you have the synergistic effect where they all help to complement one another. And then you're having that positive momentum where you're doing a little bit, and now you start to get the results of doing a little bit, and then that makes you want to do more. So it starts to snowball. And then before you know it, then you're looking for more ways of, okay, I did these little things and I've seen some progress. Where can I do a little bit more and see even more progress? And then you start getting addicted to doing some positive things versus getting stuck in the rut of doing all the negative things and then just snowballing downhill, right? Because like you see momentum carry you both ways. Like I mentioned before, like you sit on the sofa to watch one Netflix episode, and next thing you know, you've been there for 2 hours, watched the whole thing. Right? You open up the bag of potato chips to eat one chip, and next thing you know, you ate the whole bag, right? Like, or same thing. You open up the tub of ice cream, you say, oh, I'll just have a little bit. Next thing you know, you're scraping the bottom of the tub. I'm like, holy shit, where did that thing go? Right? Like all these little things, they all make a difference. So you need to kind of like focus on the small stuff, but do a lot of the small stuff that's going to move you forward. And of course, starting off, making it so simple, right? When it comes to the workouts, it doesn't have to be a dreadful workout. It just could be something very basic, a body weight circuit routine. Doesn't have to be a 45-minute cardio session. It could be a 10-minute walk, right? You don't have to have a perfectly planned out diet. Like, just make sure you start each meal with protein and veggies. Like, little things. That's what's going to start moving you in the right direction. All right, what else have we got there? Let me just go through some of the questions we've got. Holy shit, look at the time. I've been already talking for an hour. Like, where does the time go? Holy shit, Batman. This is crazy. Crazy. All right, I'm going to just skim through some questions here. Seeing we were just talking about drinks, here's Roshan just posted one saying, what drinks can I replace soda with? All right, when it comes to soda or any not so healthy food or anything like that, I don't want you to think of things as good or bad. I want you to think of it as like good, better, best. All right, so let's just say you're drinking a lot of soda, right? Again, whatever kind of soda, like Coke, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, whatever your beverage of choice is, but you're drinking a lot of soda. All right, that's not really good. What's a next best step? Replace that soda with diet soda, because if you look at regular soda, it is loaded with sugar, and sugar is like one of the most addictive and most damaging substances that you can consume, like processed sugar. It's empty calories, it's very calorie dense, and the problem is once you consume processed sugar, it increases your appetite and makes you want more sugar, right? It's very addictive. It stimulates the appetite. It doesn't satiate the appetite. Like if you eat vegetables, it satiates your appetite. If you eat protein, it satiates your appetite. You eat sugar, it makes you hungrier. It makes you want more sugar. Like, I'll give you a prime example. Like if I told you, okay, I want you to eat 6 donuts. You know, a lot of people could probably eat 6 donuts because you eat one and it stimulates your appetite, makes you want to eat another one and another one and another one. If I said, can you eat 6 chicken breasts? Very few people are going to be able to eat 6 chicken breasts, because you eat one and then you eat another one. It's like, man, I'm full, I'm stuffed, I'm sick as chicken. Right? So when it comes to sugar, you want to kind of minimize that one to the big one. So one, getting back to the soda question, the next best step, if you're currently drinking a lot of regular soda, the next best step would be to drink more diet soda. Now, I know that's kind of a controversial topic. Some people are like, oh, the artificial sweeteners are worse than sugar. I personally don't think so, right? I don't think so. I think that would be a good step. I've seen guys lose 10 pounds in a month just switching from regular soda to diet soda, because you're not getting the sugar, you're not getting the calories, right? So, I mean, that's calories in versus calories out. It makes a big difference. The next best step would be to replace some of that soda with water or green tea or black coffee or something along those lines, right? And instead of doing it cold turkey, like having you to cut it out entirely, just try and make some small, simple changes. So, for example, like if you normally have like a large soda, have a smaller soda and then have some water along with it. You know, so you still get the fizzy soda taste that you want, but instead of going for a large or big glass or whatever, have a small glass and then have some water afterwards. Or even another tip that you can use, have a glass of water first before your soda. Like, try and like transition gradually into the habit instead of doing the whole cold turkey. Because what I found is if you try and eliminate something from your diet, it makes you actually crave it more. Like if I told you can never have soda ever again, and you really enjoy soda, then what happens? You want soda, right? That applies to anything. Like if I told you can never have ice cream ever again, but you really like ice cream, then what happens? You start craving ice cream. So having this all or nothing mentality when it comes to things like that really can backfire. So what I would recommend is try and make some simple changes. So again, from regular to diet. And then another transition that you could make as well is whenever you're craving a soda, have this little habit, well, I must have a glass of water first. Then have your glass of water, and then if you still want your soda afterwards, then have your soda. And the diet soda, ideally. You know, that would be a great transition to make right there. You could even look into maybe transitioning to sparkling water or something like that. I mean, that might give you the same fizzy sensation that you want. Like if you could get a 0-calorie sparkling water, that might satisfy your crave for that fizzy drink, and it's a much healthier option. So, I mean, always look at it as like a good, better, best scenario. I mean, ideally, the best would be, okay, no sodas. You're just drinking, pure water and healthy drinks like green tea and things of that nature. But, you'd have to make it realistic and manageable at the same time. Let's see what else we got. All right. Okay, I'm just going to scroll back to the top here now. And for the next little while, I'm just kind of going to skim through and cover some of the questions that came through. So today's video chat's a bit different. Like I said, I just want to kind of have a conversation with you to kind of set you up on the right track. And one of the things that I'm in the process of doing right now to really help set you up on the right track is I'm putting together a new workout series that's going to be covering a beginner's guide to getting in shape for 2020. So I've got a new beginner's weight training program that I'm in the process of putting together, and it's going to be a series of different workouts that you can literally follow along with at the gym. So I mean, if you could open up YouTube on your phone and literally follow along with these workouts, right at the gym, follow along with the video and do that, while you're there. But the key is simplicity and mastering the basics, not making it overcomplicated, not trying to do too much too soon, but just simple. Focus on mastering the basics and building the habit of consistency. That's what I really want you to focus on, because as I mentioned before, one of the biggest mistakes most people are going to make is they're going to try to do too much too soon, burn themselves out in the process, probably even risk injury because they're doing too much too soon. And then all that unnecessary aches and pains and soreness that comes when you try and do too much too soon. And it just makes the process, it takes the fun out of it. It makes the process of getting shape, it makes it a chore and makes it actually a miserable experience versus a fun and pleasant one. So I want you to kind of just enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, right? Savor the journey. And that's one of the things. If you can enjoy the journey versus always getting hung up on the destination, then it makes it so much easier, and it increases your odds that you'll actually achieve it and reach your destination and get the results that you want much more and have a much more enjoyable time doing it. So again, you can look forward to that. The first video will definitely be out before the new year comes around. So it's a brand new training series, and that's what I really want to focus on. It's geared towards either beginners, as in people who are coming back to the gym after a layoff, or beginners as in people who've never worked out before, right? Because in both cases, you have to start off the same. Like if your body is deconditioned, you need to start off and master the basics. Even if you worked out on and off for 10 years, but you've been off for quite a while, you need to start with the basics. That's one of the biggest mistakes. Like a lot of times when I'm coaching people, they say, well, I used to work out back in the day. Should I do what I used to do, back when I was working out consistently? I'm like, no, like if you can't just pick up where you left off and think that that's going to work, right? You have to master the basics, right? You have to start small, build it up progressively and gradually, because if you try to do too much too soon, it's not going to be a pleasant situation, right? It's going to lead to burnout, injury, and ultimately you'll probably end up quitting before you hit your goal. All right, let's see what else. We got a lot of questions come through on the best set and rep pattern. Several people were asking questions about, sets and reps and all that. I've kind of changed my viewpoint on this over the years. And one thing that I've really found, and I focus on myself, is do higher repetitions and focus on more quality versus simply trying to lift heavier weight. This is especially important for guys who, if you're getting a bit older, men over 40, and you've had a few aches and pains in the joints. Lighter weight with higher repetition and really focusing on feeling the muscles working versus simply lifting heavier weight and constantly having that battle to try and lift heavier and heavier. This can be a good way to go. And in my own workouts, what I usually do now is 10 repetitions is a heavy set for me. Like most of my repetitions now, I try and shoot for 15. Like when I do a set now, I try to do higher repetitions and focus on more time under tension, more quality, and actually feeling the muscles work. And I find that it's a lot less strain on the joints, a lot less aches and pains and all that. And it's more muscle activation. And that's what I'm going for at this stage of the game. I'm going for more quality over the just trying to lift heavier weight. Like when I was younger, I mean, I used to compete in powerlifting back in the mid 2000s, you know, around 2004, 2005, that range. And of course, it was all super low rep, heavy training. And that's for health and fitness, that's not the best way to go. Higher repetitions, actually getting some time under tension. I think that's a better way to go for one, stimulating muscle growth, and for health and fitness and longevity. It's a much better solution. So I'm a big advocate of higher repetitions and more quality. And one of the little mind tricks that I use to break it up, because if I tell you to do a set of 15, that seems daunting. Like that's a lot of repetitions. Or if I tell you to do even higher reps, like sometimes certain exercises, I might even do sets of 20 or 25 reps or whatever. But I break them up into sets of 5. So like, let's just say I'm going to do an exercise, whatever. I'm going to do squats. I'm going to do 15 squats. And that's a lot of squats, right? That's hard. So in my mind, I break it up into sets of 5. So I'll do my first set of 5, and then I'll do like a little rest pause, you know, just lock out the weight, take a couple breaths, do another set of 5, and then lock out the weight, take a couple breaths, like a little mini rest break, if you will, and then do another set of 5. So when I do a set of 15, I actually mentally break it up into 3 sets of 5. And I find that that helps me to get through that set better without the daunting idea of thinking that I have to do 15 repetitions. No, I only have to do 5, but I have to do 3 sets of 5. So that's how I break it up. And I find yes, it's a mind game or whatever, but I find it helps. So every time I'm doing an exercise now, I just do 3 sets of 5, 3 sets of 5 each time I do an exercise. And that gives me more muscle time under tension. And I find I get a better pump that way. I have to lift less weight. And so there's less risk of injury. And I find that I'm actually, you know, working the muscles rather than straining the joints. Because that's one of the drawbacks. If you're doing heavy low rep training, there's a lot of strain on the joints, tendons, and ligaments. And the muscles are not getting a lot of time under tension. So if your goal, I mean, obviously, if you're a power athlete, you know, you're a competitive power lifter, a competitive weightlifter, strongman or something, that you're not watching me, right? Like you're probably watching you're watching channels that talk about powerlifting and strongman and all that kind of stuff. But if you're into health and longevity and living a healthy lifestyle and making this a maintainable thing, you need to look at ways that you can maximize the longevity. And higher repetitions, more quality with your workouts is a great way to do that, right? You're much less likely to get injured with a moderate weight for 15 than you are with a super heavy weight that you're maxing out with like 5 reps or something like that, right? The risk of injury and the use of poor form really comes into play when you're using super heavy weight, right? Because now your whole focus is on simply moving the weight versus actually feeling the muscles contract. So when you use a lighter weight and you do the higher reps, you can get into that mind-muscle connection, get a good pump, feel the muscles, and get that pump and that fatigue from muscular activation versus just pure strain of having heavy weights. And what you'll find too is a lot of people think, oh, high reps is kind of like the, you know, oh, that's for wimps, right? You know, real men, they lift heavy weight, right? But what you'll find is actually grinding through that pain threshold and that lactic acid burn of high repetitions is actually harder, because you have to, like, mentally, you have to endure that burn, and that's hard. Like, it's easier to pile on a bunch of weight and just do a few reps and then end the set. Like, that's actually easier because you don't, the duration of the exercise is over so fast, and that you don't actually get that burn or that pain or that's, you know, having to mentally tough it out. Whereas if you do higher repetitions, you actually have to endure more pain, right? Like it's actually harder to train with higher repetitions, because once you get, like, say you're doing a set at 15, like once you get past 10, you really have to, you know, focus, like buckle down and grind out those last few reps, but do so with good quality form so that it's a muscular contraction, not just swinging and heaving the weights. And I actually find that I get a better quality workout by doing that. And that's one of the things over the past year, I've really gotten away from the heavy low rep training that I used to do. And I focus more on quality higher rep training. And I find that it's a much, much better workout. And that's where I tend to focus most of my exercises now. So, like, for me, 15 reps is kind of my standard. 10 reps would be a heavy set. And I usually only would do 10 reps. Is like if I get to, like, let's say I was doing 3 sets of 15. The first set of 15 might be, might be able to grind that out. Second set might really have to struggle. The third set I might hit failure before I actually got to the 15, right? And might not get all 15. So that's when I would do less than that. But that's one of the things I really recommend, especially for guys who are getting older. Focus on the quality, feeling the muscles work rather than simply trying to lift heavy weight. Let's see what else we got. So that's the exercises. And another thing that you can do, this is actually, John posted a question there. He said, asking about like doing really high reps, like in 50 repetitions. In some exercises, I do recommend doing really high repetitions, especially if you're doing some body weight work, like body weight squats or something like that. Like you can, that's actually a great way to train, especially like high reps for push-ups, squats, things of that nature, like body weight squats, that is. You can do some really high reps. So sometimes when I'm doing like a body weight circuit routine at home, I will do very high repetition, like shoot for 50 rep sets of squats, 50 rep sets of push-ups or something like that. You get a lot of blood flow, a lot of muscle activation, and it doesn't take much time. Like if you hit if you banged out 50 squats and 50 push-ups, 50 jumping jacks, I mean, it might only take you a few minutes to do that, but like you would get a killer little mini workout, right? So I mean, yeah, there's a time and a place for really high repetitions as well. Okay, what else we got there? Oscar saying he has some knee problems, back injury. Wants to know good substitution exercises for the legs. He wants to know if goblet squats are good, posterior chain exercises. One thing you will find, Oscar, if you implement what I just suggested, lightening up the weights, increasing the repetitions, focusing on quality over simply moving weight, that will fix a lot of that problems right there. When it comes to knee pain, find exercise variations that you can do. So if barbell squats cause knee pain, don't do barbell squats, right? Do leg presses, or do body weight squats, or do some different variations instead. And this applies to all exercises. Like if certain move causes you pain or discomfort, you don't have to do it. You can do another exercise. And a lot of times I get these questions where people say, well, what's the best exercise for whatever? What's the best exercise for chest or legs or back or something? Or they say, if you could only do one exercise for the rest of your life, what would that exercise be? And, I mean, it's a neat question, I guess, but it's totally pointless because we don't have to do just one exercise, or we're not limited. Like we have access to dozens of different exercises for all the different body parts. So if you find bench press, like some people say, oh, bench press is the best chest exercise, you got to do bench press. But if you find bench presses kills your shoulders and hurts your elbows and you just don't like it, guess what? You don't have to bench press. Same with squats. Like some people say, well, the squats are the king of exercises. You got to squat. If you don't like squats, they cause you pain, discomfort, whatever, guess what? You don't have to squat. We have a lot of different exercises that you can do. So focus on working the muscle, not getting obsessed with the exercise, right? You can do a lot of different chest exercises and still build a nice chest. You can do a lot of different leg exercises, still build good legs, right? You don't have to be so narrow-minded to think that you only have to do these set few exercises. Focus on working the muscle, not the exercise. And that's something that's really individual. A lot of times it's going to come down to some trial and error, trying a whole bunch of different exercises, seeing which ones you like and which give you the best muscle activation for your body type. And the cool thing about it is this is something that can change over time, because as your muscles develop and as you get more mind-muscle connection, you will find that maybe certain exercises will work better in time. And I'll give you an example for me. Like when I started training in my teenage years, like dumbbell flies, I would do dumbbell flies because it was written down in the magazine workout. People say, hey, you got to do bench presses and you got to do dumbbell flies. And I would do them and man, I don't feel anything. It's not working for me. All I feel is strain on the joints. Like I don't feel any muscle activation from a dumbbell fly. But now that I have several years of training under my belt, well, actually, several decades of training under my belt now, my muscles have changed. I've got more mind-muscle connection, and I actually find that dumbbell flies, which at one time was a totally useless exercise for me, I actually enjoy it, and I find that I get a good muscle connection because first, my body has changed, but also the way that I do the exercise. I'm not trying to use it as a power move and lift heavy weights. I'm using it as a stretching move and feel the muscles stretch as I'm doing it. So it's almost like stretching with weights. It's active stretching with weights. That's the way I consider a dumbbell fly now. And when I do that, I find it works really well. So you'll find that certain exercises, you might not have felt them in the past. As your body develops, as you get more muscle maturity, it may actually become a good exercise. And sometimes vice versa. You may have had an exercise that you really liked in the past, and then as you get older and you may get some wear and tear on the joints, tendons, and ligaments, you may not like that exercise as your body matures. So be open to changing your workouts based on how your body is responding now in the present moment. Don't go get hung up on the exercise. Focus on working the body part and be flexible with it, right? I mean, we're so fortunate because we have so many different machine exercises that you have access to, so many different like body weight exercises, machines, free weights. There's so much. Like, you don't have, if one move causes pain or discomfort, I'm sure that we're going to be able to find something else that'll substitute it and allow you to train that muscle without pain or discomfort. So again, don't get hung up on the exercise. Focus on working the muscle. Okay, what else? Another question here. This one is from Jacob, and he's asking about eating dark chocolate while you're cutting. Is it good? In moderation, yes. I mean, if you want to enjoy some dark chocolate in moderation, you mean by all means. It's not one of those things like it's a must-have or anything like that. Like, you can certainly, like, some people look at dark chocolate as this ultimate superfood. I mean, if you want it for the superfood health benefits, don't even go for the dark chocolate. Get the raw cacao beans. Get the real chocolate, not even processed at all. If you want it for the pure health benefits, and if you're eating the raw cacao beans, it's not a very pleasurable taste, if you will, because it's almost like just like if you think dark chocolate's bitter, then the raw cacao is even more bitter again because it's not even processed at all. But from the health benefit, that's what you should go for. If you're eating it for the pure health benefits of the chocolate, that would be the one. Now, if you're eating it because you actually enjoy it, and it's kind of like your little guilty pleasure, if you will, enjoy it in moderation, right? I mean, like, I'm not saying cut it out, but enjoy it in moderation. It's one of those things where, fill up on the protein and veggies first, and then if you want to have a little bit of dark chocolate afterwards to satisfy that craving that you have for the chocolate, then have it then at the end of the meal, right? Once you've already filled up on the good stuff first. But definitely don't start with that, right? Look at it as like a treat, because that's exactly what it is. Another one. Can I eat oats as an only source of carbohydrates? Oats are a great source of carbohydrates. I mean, oatmeal, but as your only source, why do you want to limit yourself to only one source? That's kind of silly. I mean, we have such a wide variety of foods, and I believe in eating a wide variety of foods. Now, if it's, again, I need to know more context. Like, if you're on a really tight budget and like you're like, man, I can only, oatmeal's cheap and I can only afford to eat oatmeal as my carbs, and okay, but like, you don't have to limit yourself to just one. Like, you can have oatmeal, you can have potatoes, you can have sweet potatoes, you can have rice, fruits and vegetables, beans and lentils. I mean, there's so many good quality sources of carbohydrates. You don't have to just have this one. So it's almost like that went back earlier, where like people say, what's the one exercise for a body part? Now, you don't have to do just one exercise per body part. Like, we have a whole gym full of machines and exercises available. Same with, do I have to eat only oats for my carbohydrates? No, you have a whole variety of foods that you can eat for your carbohydrates. Now, I'm saying, yes, enjoy the oats. I mean, I do enjoy oats, but I don't necessarily eat them every day. I eat a wide variety of foods. And I'm of the belief that the more variety that you can have, a variety in terms of healthy, natural, unprocessed foods, the better you're going to be. Let's see what else we got. Just skimming through some questions here. Someone's asking about kinesiology tape for injuries. I've never tried it, so I don't have any. That was from Chris. I have no experience with kinesiology tape. Have I ever used a reverse hyper machine? I have. I like it. It does differ from the regular hyper machine. Unfortunately, we don't have one at the gym that I train at, but I have trained at gyms that do have reverse hyper, and it is a very unique exercise. If you have access to one, I would definitely recommend including it with your workouts. It would be great to do as part of like a leg or a back workout, especially the legs, because it does engage more of the legs as well as the lower back. But it's a nice exercise because it decompresses the spine. If you're not familiar with the reverse hyper, just do a Google search for it. Okay, scrolling through with the questions. Do you have tips on becoming muscular without becoming slow and unflexible? Is it possible? That is a big myth, thinking that gaining muscle is going to slow you down or cause you to become muscle bound or, tight. And it's all about how you train. Like if your goal is to be flexible, then you need to include flexibility training as part of your workouts. One that I recommend a lot of people do is post-workout stretching. So ideally, after you do a workout, whatever muscles you've trained during your workouts, take a few minutes to stretch out those muscles after the workout. That will help to aid with recovery, aid with your muscle development, but it will also help to improve your flexibility. But that is a myth, thinking that if you build muscle, you're going to become slow and tight and muscle bound and all that. I mean, most athletes, I don't want to say absolute now, but most athletes, in fact, I would say the vast majority, include strength training as part of their workouts. Like that is an old, outdated myth, thinking that, if you lift weights, you're going to become slow and muscle bound. Like martial artists do weight training. Most people do some form of weight training, and it does not cause you to become slow and muscle bound. I mean, even like some of the top bodybuilders used to do do the splits as part of their routine. Like if you remember, like back in the bodybuilding days, like Flex Wheeler, for example, right? Who, he used to always do, his posing routine, like he'd go down and do the splits and then do a, front double bicep while he was doing the splits. Like you can be flexible and muscular at the same time. That's a big misconception. You just have to train for it. Right? Obviously, if you don't do any flexibility work, regardless if you're skinny or jacked, you're going to be tight and stiff. But if you do flexibility work, you can be flexible regardless, right? Muscles will stretch. Ralph was asking about how to get rid of the bad habits and start new ones. I think we already covered that one. Start small. That's the key. Baby steps. Baby steps. Make it so small and simple to do the good habit that you actually follow through and do it. And then once you have that positive momentum happening, then it's easy to stick with it and then actually do more. And that's one of the things I'm really going to be focusing on in the new training series that I'm putting together, is focusing on starting off small, mastering the basics, and focusing on consistency over intensity. That is the number one thing. Consistency over intensity. What else we got? Someone's asking, hello, Lee, is PSMF for 1 week for boosting weight loss and cure some cheat meals good idea? I don't even know what PSMF is, so I'm just going to move on. I just started back to the basics and taking it light and easy to go from there. So far, so good. That's from Tex Pop. Good for you. The hardest part of starting a workout program is getting started. Like the hardest part of going to the gym is actually showing up, right? Once you get that habit in place and you make time for it, like the rest is easy. It's just getting started is always the hardest part. Like getting your ass to the gym is the hardest part of a workout. Once you're there, like the rest is easy. The hardest part of doing cardio is getting your shoes on and getting out the door. Once you get that done, the rest is easy. So that's why you need to break your habits and your goals and whatever it is you're doing down to small, mini bite-sized chunks, something that is so small and simple to do. In fact, if you're looking you're looking for help with developing healthy habits, there's a good book that I recommend. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I actually have a copy of it here on my shelf. This one, Atomic Habits. This is, I would venture to say this is the best book that I've read in the past year. And I definitely would recommend this. If you're looking for, a book to add to your list, get this one. It's available as an Audible version, as audiobook, or you can, of course, get the hard copy book. But get this. Go through it. Because the thing I like about this is it really dives into the psychology and the mindset behind habits, how both positive habits and negative habits. And it uses a lot of examples related to health and fitness, diet and exercise, because that's something that's universal to everybody. Diet and exercise, we all need positive diet and exercise habits. And so he uses a lot of examples of that in this book. But go through this. It's an eye-opener, right? And what it really focuses on is small, consistent improvement. Like this whole idea of just getting 1% better every day. Instead of trying to go from 0 to hero in a short period of time, which is what most people are going to do. Come January 1st in the gym, everybody's going to try and go from 0 to hero, right? They're going to try and lose 30 pounds in 30 days and, undo all the years of bad habits, going to change it all overnight. And it doesn't work that way. But focus on getting 1% better. 1% better is, in the short term, it doesn't even seem like you're doing anything. Like 1% better today than yesterday, like nobody's going to notice, right? It's such a small thing. But what if you got 1% better every day? 1% better, and then 100 days later, you look back and say, holy shit, look at the progress I just made by getting 1% better. That's the kind of the attitude that you want to take. Instead of trying to do too much too soon, just do little tiny bits. And then the next day, do a little tiny bit more. So 1% better today. 1% better tomorrow, 1% better the next day, and just keep getting 1% better. Of course, that's a mindset. There's, when you're actually building muscle, losing fat, you really can't measure 1% better, but it's a mindset. Like have that mindset of just this slow, steady, nonstop improvement over the long term versus trying to do this all or nothing big life transformation in the matter of a few weeks, right? Like that big life transformation, I'm going to work out and starve myself for the next month and lose all my excess body fat. That never works, right? That never works. If it did, then nobody would be overweight and out of shape because we'd all follow that, that crazy approach, but it does not work, right? You need to have a maintainable, sustainable, enjoyable process. And this 1% better type of mentality is a great one for that. Where else was I? Where was I to? What would you do if you feel like you have hit a plateau with dieting? That one's from Dave. I would reevaluate everything that you are doing because there's so much like that. I understand where you are with that question, but that is a big, like you've hit a plateau. So okay, fat loss. Look at the bigger picture. Like how consistent are you with your workouts? How consistent are you with your cardio? How consistent are you with your eating? And if you have all that in place, like let's just say you were going to the gym, doing weight training 3 days a week. You're doing daily cardio, even if it's, 10-minute walks or whatever, but you're doing daily cardio. You're eating protein and veggies with each meal. Once you have all that in place, then we can look at, okay, how can we optimize those different variables, right? With your workouts, like how can we make those workouts more productive? How can we, make the cardio more productive for fat burning? Like maybe you have to increase the duration or the frequency of it. When it comes to the meals, like even if you're eating clean, healthy foods, like you could still be eating too much clean, healthy foods. Like it's possible to get fat eating, protein and veggies and fruit and oatmeal and all that good, healthy diet foods. If you eat too much of them and you're in a calorie surplus, then you're not going to burn body fat, right? Calories in versus calories out still plays a role, but it's much harder to be in a calorie surplus and to gain excess body fat when you're eating all natural, unprocessed foods. So you really need to look at the bigger picture of what's going on. And then like if you're not consistent with your workouts, or you're not consistent with your eating, or you're not consistent with your cardio, or you're not consistent with your sleep habits, and all these little things that in and of themselves, may not make a big difference, but when compounded together, make a huge difference. You need to look at all those things and see where can you make small improvements in all these different areas, right? And that's what, like when I'm working with my coaching students, that's what we really focus on. Like, we just don't focus on like, okay, how many calories, how many sets and reps. Like, we focus on the whole lifestyle, like everything, like breaking it down to like, how do you make this stuff work and fit into your lifestyle and your schedule? Right? Because I mean, like, I can give you some formula. I can say, oh, based on your height and weight, you need to eat, 2,152 calories broken down into 5 meals per day. And you need to do, like, I can give you like the mathematical formula equation. But if you're not actually applying it and consistently and having that fit within your lifestyle and your schedule, then that's useless. Like, it's nice to have those numbers, but you actually have to be able to apply it. And I find in the application is where a lot of people go astray. So it's like when it comes to diet and nutrition, you can go on Google, right? You can Google search meal plans and calorie calculators and macro calculators and all that, but it's useless for most people because they can't take that stuff and actually apply it. So that's where the challenge comes in, is in the application. But again, Dave, if you would like some help with this, send me an email. Like, we can discuss your situation and probably come up with a realistic action plan that's right for you. And that's something that I encourage every one of you. If you have questions about this and you would actually like some help, have someone to guide you through it and take all this stuff that maybe seem overwhelming, and you would like help me to actually take all this and put it together into a simple and sustainable and followable, is that a word? Followable? I don't know. Followable action plan that you can actually follow and do and get results with. If you would like some help with that, send me an email. My email is leeh@leehayward.com. That's my personal email address. It comes right to me. It doesn't go to some, automated messenger or virtual assistant or anything else. That actually goes to me. So leeh@leehayward.com. Send me an email, and we can discuss a realistic action plan that's right for you, your situation. And if I can help you, I'll let you know. And if I feel I can't help you, then I'm not going to BS you. I'll let you know as well. And I'll try and point you in the right direction to someone who can. But feel free to do that. That's an invitation open to anybody who would like some help, right? Send me an email and we can discuss an action plan that's right for you. Frederick's saying, have you done Don feeder workouts? I don't know what Don feeder workouts are. No, I haven't. We have Jack joining in from Japan. Welcome, Jack. He says, can you give me a little advice regarding what equipment and exercises I could use in a Japanese apartment? I must be quiet and I don't have time to hit the gym every day. Body weight exercises, rubber resistance band exercises. One that I'm a big fan of, you can go on Amazon and search for them. It's called Body Elastic Bands. Those are good ones, but that's just one brand. There's a lot of them. But rubber resistance bands are great because, one, they're super convenient. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, here, I'll just show you what I'm talking about. These type of things, right? Rubber resistance bands with handles, right? Like, this is an example of rubber resistance bands. I've got a whole bunch of them, but the thing I like about this isn't the brand that I would recommend. This is just an older one that I have kicking around here, actually. But the ones I like, the Body Elastic ones actually have, you can buy separate bands and the handles detach, and you can actually stack bands on top of each other. So if you want a really light resistance, you can have that. If you want really heavy resistance, you can have that as well by just stacking bands on top of each other. And it comes with a bunch of attachments that you can use, like to hook into the doorway or something like that, where you can do like rowing exercises and different exercises where the bands are anchored to a door. So if you're in a tight, cramped space, like in an apartment, that would be a great way to get in a simple workout, that along with body weight exercises. And that's something that I'm going to be covering as well in the future video series that I'm putting together now for the Get Yourself Back in Shape in 2020. We'll be covering some home gym exercises using simple pieces of equipment like, resistance bands, simple dumbbell exercises. The cool thing about the bands is that they're so small and convenient. Like when I travel, I take the bands and throw them in my suitcase because, you got a little portable gym that doesn't weigh anything. I mean, it's very light and compact. You can throw it in the bottom of your suitcase. You wouldn't even know it's there. But then you have access to some exercises anywhere you go. So I'm a big fan of that. But if another one, like if you have some dumbbells or like dumbbells and a bench and all that, now you're starting to get into big, bulky stuff. But resistance bands and body weight exercises, that's the most compact. And of course, it's quiet. There's no noise. If you drop a rubber band, it's not like dropping a dumbbell, right? So you're not going to make any noise or damage the floor or any of that stuff. So that's what I'd recommend, Jack. What else we got? We got Matthew joining in from France. Welcome. Shaz from Nevada, Reno, Nevada. Shavaz, I think it is. Jesse joining in. Jesse says, one mistake that I've learned from this past year is program hopping. I was always going to the next hyped up program until finally I stopped and learned to be consistent and patient with the process. That is a great tip. It's like the red shiny ball syndrome, where you're always thinking of, the next best thing, or the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. And, you're always thinking that the best thing is something else. A quote that I learned from one of my mentors is, the grass isn't greener on the other side of the fence. The grass is greener where you water it. So you don't always need to be jumping to the next best thing. You just need to focus on what you're doing, focus on what you have, and just optimize it. So like, it's not like, well, what's the best diet? What's the best workout? What's the best this? What's the best that? It's like, no, take what you have, your current situation, your current, what it is you have available right now, and let's focus on optimizing that. That's what's the best. Not trying to always think that there's something bigger and greater and grander, on the other side of the rainbow type thing. So that's a great tip. Thanks for sharing that, Jesse. Okay, let's see what else we got. Matthew saying, I've been watching your lives, videos, and he says, couldn't miss this one. My question is, I love a push-pull legs. It's my go-to workout split, but what's your opinions and thoughts about a 5-day split, one muscle a day? Well, when it comes to the workouts, the actual split or whatever, in the greater scheme of things, it doesn't make that much of a difference. It's consistency is what's going to make the biggest difference. The only thing about the whole 5-day split is, can you commit to 5 days per week going to the gym? If it fits within your schedule and you find that you can recover from it and it works for you, then hey, by all means do it. But what I've found from personal experience and from working with a lot of people, especially as you get 40 plus, it's hard to recover from 5 weight training workouts a week. Weight training is hard on the body because it breaks the body down. Right? You go into the gym, you're training, you're tearing down muscle tissue. And it's hard, your body has to rest and recover from that. And it's not just your muscles that have to rest and recover, it's your joints, tendons, and ligaments as well. Like, that's one of the reasons why a lot of times people get achy joints and stuff, is because if you're doing a lot of heavy weight training, it's breaking down the joints and you're probably not giving them enough time to rest, recover, and grow in between workouts. So what I've found through trial and error, and this works the best for me, and I've recommended this to numerous coaching students that I've worked with, is I like to alternate weight training one day and cardio the next. Weight training one day and cardio the next. So this allows me to stay active and exercise every single day. So I get the health benefits of daily exercise, but it works within the body's natural recovery. So that weight training is stressing the muscles, stressing the joints, the tendons, and ligaments, breaking it down, which is then going to provide the stimulus to help your body build up stronger for the next time. But then on your day off from weight training and you're doing cardio, that's active recovery exercise. So you're helping circulate blood flow and oxygen and nutrients and all that throughout your system. You're getting the benefits of exercise, but it's gentle exercise. It's not breaking the body down. So I refer to this as my yin and yang training system. So you have the high intensity weight training, which is, that negative energy, if you will. And then you have the gentle, low intensity cardio, which very often for me is getting outside, taking my dog for a walk in the woods. Like, I mean, how cool is that, right? Like, it's fun, it's enjoyable. I mean, I actually, my most recent YouTube video that I posted up was me taking my dog in the woods, right? Like, that's my walk, that's my cardio. I mean, if the weather is suitable, that's what I do. I mean, in fact, before I got on this video chat, myself and my dog Sally, we went out in the woods for a walk before we did this video chat. And that is my low intensity cardio workout. And that's gentle exercise that helps to rejuvenate the body, not break it down. So you have the best of both worlds. And that's what I always do. I alternate weight training and cardio, weight training and cardio. So I get the benefits of daily exercise, but it allows me to rest and recover and grow. And I've been able to avoid all the drawbacks from doing this. Like, my joints don't ache anymore. Like in the past, when I would try and work out like 5 and 6 days a week, my shoulders were constantly aching, my elbows were constantly clicking, and I feel the aches and pains. When I have a workout every other day and have that full 48 hours of recovery between workouts, and then that active recovery of the cardio in between, I feel great. I mean, it works within my natural recovery. So I've found through trial and error, that's what works the best for me. And I've recommended that to a lot of my personal coaching students, and a lot of them are getting great results as well. So that's why if you want to do the push-pull legs, I would do that. Space it out 3 days a week or every other day, however you want to do it. Like, it doesn't matter what days you work out on, as long as you get a day of recovery in between each workout. And that's a great way to go about it. So you get the benefits of daily exercise and also recovery. And that's one of the things you really need to realize is your body doesn't grow when it's in the gym. It grows when you're resting and recovering from those workouts. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's move on. Jonah's saying, I always carry a backpack often, and I do squats while I'm waiting for the train. Hey, good for you. That's kind of getting in that mini bursts of exercise, like I mentioned earlier in the chat. Yeah, I mean, like little things like that, like simple stuff. Like, people think that a workout has to be some big official scheduled thing. Like, no, it doesn't. Like, that's why I'm such a big fan of walking, because you can walk anywhere, anytime. And simple things add up. Like, I know it sounds so silly and cliche, but like taking the stairs instead of the elevator, like going for a 10-minute walk on your lunch break, like just looking for ways to move your body more, right? Like, while you're doing stuff, get up and move, right? Like, after I do this video chat and I get off my ass, because I'm sitting down now for over an hour, I'm going to do some squats and push-ups and jumping jacks just to move my body. And it's going to take me like 2 minutes, but that's 2 minutes well spent. And again, it's going to give you that boost of energy that you need. Baby Boomers asking, what do you think of BCAA drinks? It's optional. It's definitely not going to hurt. There's nothing wrong with supplementing with BCAAs, but as long as you're getting your protein requirements, which is, the general rule of thumb is 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body weight per day. As long as you're getting that, you really don't need BCAA drinks, but it's not going to hurt, right? I mean, if you want to supplement with BCAAs, by all means do so, but it's not a must-have supplement unless you're a high-level athlete who's really pushing the limits of your physical training and your recovery and all that. When you're pushing the limits, that's when this stuff makes a difference. But for the average person who's just working out to try and lose fat, get in shape, feel better, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And an analogy that I use for this, I've shared this one before, but it's a good one to share again. Imagine a race car versus your daily driver car, all right? Like, the race car is the high-performance elite athlete, if you will. The daily driver is the average person who's just trying to lose weight, get in shape, and feel better, right? So that's kind of the mindset and mentality you need to have. Like, if you look at a race car that's doing on the racetrack, I mean, when you're watching Formula One or NASCAR or whatever it is, and they pull into pit lane, they have high-speed fuel pumps that are going to force the fuel into the tank as fast as possible, because every second that they waste in pit lane is precious seconds that they could be out on the racetrack. When they change the tires, they got the pit crew ready to go, and they change the tires in the matter of seconds, because every second that they waste, again, that's taking time away from the race. So it makes a difference in that extreme situation. When you go to the gas station in your car, your daily driver, it doesn't matter how long it takes you to fill up your car. Like, if it takes you 2 minutes or if it takes you 3 minutes, who cares? Like, it's 3 minutes out of your day, big deal. Like when you take your car to the garage and you change your tires, like who cares if it takes them an hour or if you drop the car off in the morning and you pick it up in the afternoon? Like it doesn't matter. So the same applies when it comes to a lot of these high performance supplements. Like BCAAs are a way to like get amino acids into your system as fast as possible because it's already broken down in this most easily absorbable state. So if you're a high level athlete who's pushing the limits of training and you need to be able to recover fast, you know, because you've got a sporting event or your training is intense. Maybe you're doing 2-a-day workouts. So you're doing, you know, weight training in the morning and you're doing football practice in the afternoon, and you need to be able to recover in between because, you know, you had to perform at your best. Like those are the situations where you need to try and force nutrients and stuff into your systems to aid with recovery. But for the average guy who's like working out 3 days a week, it doesn't matter. Like just eating your regular meals is going to be able to, your body's going to be able to absorb the proteins from the regular meals. And then that will get utilized and circulated throughout your body and stored into your amino acid pool. So your body can actually utilize it within time. So like I don't supplement with BCAAs, right? Because I'm not pushing the limits. I'm not pushing the limits with my training. I mean, if I'm working out 3 days a week, my regular meals that I eat throughout the day, I will absorb the protein from those meals and be fully recovered by the time my next weight training workout rolls around 48 hours later. So I don't need to have that high-speed fuel pump forcing it in as fast as possible, right? It's just the same analogy. Like the race car, they need to change the tires fast. They need to pump the fuel fast. When you go to the gas station or the garage, it doesn't matter, right? You're not counting the seconds. It doesn't matter. So that's my view on when it comes to these, BCAAs and all the people saying, well, what about the post-workout window and all? Like it doesn't matter. Seriously, it doesn't matter. It's overrated for the average guy who's just trying to lose weight and get in shape and improve their health and fitness. With that being said, I'm gonna have another sip of water. This is my last video chat of 2019. And I'm going to have a record video chat because I'm going to go for 2 hours. I've never done a 2-hour-long video chat before, but I'm on a roll. I'm feeling good. The questions are still coming. If you're enjoying it, let me know in the video chat. Do you want to break the 2-hour mark? Let me know. Type in the comments right now if you want to break the 2-hour mark today. Let me know, and I'll keep this chat going for over 2 hours. Do we want to keep it going? Do we want to keep it going? Yes, no, maybe so. Let me know. All right, what other questions we got coming through here? All right. We have John joining us from Cairo in Egypt. Wow, that's cool. Okay, people are saying go for it, break it, give her. All right, boom, we'll go. We're gonna crack the 2-hour mark today. What else? Where was my spot to? All right. But what do you think, BCA? We already covered that. I like hitting muscle groups twice a week. Works good for me. That was from Michael. If it works for you, do it. And you know something? I'm a big fan of more frequent workouts as well. And one of the ways that I like to do frequent workouts, and this is what I'm actually going to be covering in my new training series that I'm putting together for the new year, is I like total body workouts. But I like to do different exercises with each total body workout. Because one of the drawbacks of a traditional total body workout is you have very little exercise variety. Because most of the time, you'll start with your total body workout. Let's just say you're doing 1 or 2 exercises per muscle group. And then you're doing those same 1 or 2 exercises each time you go to the gym. But you don't have a lot of variety because you're just doing those same moves. Now, again, if you're consistent with it, you're consistent with your nutrition, you're consistent with your workouts, all that good stuff, you can still make progress. Don't get me wrong. You can still make progress. But I like to do total body workouts where one day I'll do, say, like 1 major exercise for each body part. The next workout, I'll do totally different exercises, hitting the same body parts. And then the next day, I'll probably do totally different exercises again. So that will be my 3 workouts for the week. There'll be 3 total body workouts, but 3 totally different total body workouts, hitting different exercises, different ranges of motion, different angles of the muscle. And so over the course of the week, you're still getting the benefits of, a more complete workout where you're getting different angles and muscle stimulation and all that stuff, but you're still getting the benefit of total body, right? Where you're hitting the muscle groups frequently. So that's what I'm going to be covering in the new training series. It's going to be 3 total body workouts, but it's 3 totally different total body workouts. And they're going to be quick. It's going to be something that like within an hour or less, you can be in and out of the gym, right? And that includes your warm up and everything else. Like boom, go into the gym, workout, 1 hour or less, you're walking back out the door. And that's what we need to have. We need to have these quick, simple, no BS type of workouts, because one of the biggest excuses that a lot of people have is, oh, I don't have time to go to the gym and blah, blah, or thinking they can have these 2-hour marathon workouts. No, man, you don't. You have to be able to be efficient and still get the quality in there as well. Okay, where are we to? We have The Real Deal saying, I'm starting a diet right now. I'm at my biggest weight of 330 pounds. I have gone down. Shit. Let me rephrase that. I'm starting a diet right now. I'm at my biggest weight, 330 pounds. I have so far gone 5 days, nothing but water and lowering my calorie intake on food. I don't know what you mean by that. Nothing but water and lowering my calorie. I hope you're not literally having nothing but water. Maybe he's talking about the soda question that came through. All right. Well, I commend you for starting a diet plan. But one thing I am going to caution you right now, do not try and do too much too soon and go to the extremes. Like just based on that comment alone, I can visualize an extreme approach coming about. Like nothing but water, right? Like you don't have to have this all or nothing mentality. Like if you enjoy some other drinks, like you want to have some soda or coffee or tea or whatever, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But whatever you do, it has to be maintainable. Like if you can't maintain it, it doesn't matter how much weight you lose. If it's not maintainable, you're not going to keep the results off. And an analogy I've used for this, and I'm going to share it again here now, is imagine we're out at sea in a boat. All right, we're in a boat, and there's a hole in the boat, and the boat's taking on water. And then we start to think, well, what's the fastest way to get the water out of the boat? And you say, well, I'm going to use, I've got a water bottle. I'm going to take the water bottle. I'm going to scoop the water out of the boat with my bottle. And then someone else says, well, I've got a bucket. I can get more water with the bucket. And then, everyone's debating, well, what's the fastest way to get the water out? Someone else says, well, I'll cut my hands and I'll just start throwing water out of the boat. Like, why don't we first plug the hole in the boat so it stops taking on water? Like, stop getting, like, when it comes to a diet, like so many people are wondering, like, what's the fastest way to lose weight? What's the fastest way to get lean, to do this, do that? Why don't we just start by stop getting fat in the first place, right? Like that boat out at sea. Before we start worrying about how to get the water out, how about we stop the water from coming in first and then worry about getting the water out? And very often, by doing that, you'll make much further progress, because even if you have a big bucket and you're bailing the boat, the water out of the boat as fast as you can, as soon as you stop bailing the water out of the boat, guess what? If the hole is still there, it's going to fill back up again. So when it comes to your diet, like if you have poor habits in place, it doesn't matter like how much you starve yourself or how much cardio you do or whatever. Like if you haven't addressed the habits that were causing you to get fat in the first place, then like as soon as you stop that extreme approach, like let's just say you decide I'm going to do 3 hours of cardio a day and I'm going to eat nothing but celery sticks, right? Like that's very extreme, but let's just say you did that. Yes, of course you would lose a bunch of weight by doing 3 hours of cardio a day and eating nothing but celery sticks, but it's not maintainable. And as soon as you stop that extreme approach, guess what? You're going to go back to your old habits and you're going to gain all the weight back again. It's just like that boat. Like as soon as I stop dumping the water out, the boat's going to fill back up with water, right? Your body's going to fill back up with body fat because you haven't fixed the problem. You have to change the habits that cause you to get fat in the first place. Once you address that, then we can worry about burning off the fat and maintaining it. So again, whatever approach you take, it has to be a maintainable approach. And that's why I'm such a big fan of focusing on habits, lifestyle, and these small little decisions that are, it doesn't have to be major ones, but I mean, the decisions that are going to move you towards living a lean lifestyle versus a fat lifestyle. And you need to change that before you start going into the extremes. Okay, what else we got? right, let's just see what else we got. Some chit chat going back and forth there. But let's see what else. Haley, I live in St. John's and was wondering how to support someone who wants to work out but never takes the initiative. All right, that could be a loaded question. Because when it, like, obviously the best thing that you can do is focus on yourself, right? Focus on getting in your best shape. Focus on leading by example, because trying to get somebody to work out who doesn't want to, like, trying to help somebody who doesn't want to help themselves is a losing battle, right? You can't do it. You cannot help somebody who doesn't want to help themselves. And it's unfortunate, but it's the reality. Like, I'll tell you right up front, like, I have a lot of friends and family members who are overweight and out of shape and who do not exercise, do not eat right, and all that kind of stuff. And I have tried in the past to encourage them to take action, to lose weight and get in shape and all that. Like, I've offered to coach them for free. I've offered to help them work out and everything else. And it's all in vain, because if they're not willing to, if they don't have the initiative to do it themselves, I can't want it more for you than you want it for yourself. Like, my desire, my ambition, my enthusiasm, all that, like, is it's great for me, but I can't force that onto somebody else. So all you can really do if to support somebody is do the best that you can. Like, you get in your best shape. You let them see the changes happening within you. Like, let them see you get lean, get healthy, feel better, look better, just see your whole attitude towards life improve. And indirectly, that might motivate them to want to change as well. Like, when somebody sees you make a transformation, like, let's just say you're overweight and out of shape, and then you get lean and healthy, and you've had this big before and after transformation. Then people look at you like, whoa, what did you do? Hey, I'd like to do that too. And then that starts to encourage them that, hey, if you did it, maybe I could do it. And then that will motivate them indirectly. But you can't force somebody to get in shape. You can't force somebody to change if they're not willing. Like, we all know we should eat right. We all know we should exercise. We all know we shouldn't drink alcohol. We all know we shouldn't smoke cigarettes or do drugs. And, like, everybody knows that. But yet there's millions of people out there who are overweight, eating crap, drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, doing drugs. I mean, like, it's not the knowing. Like, they have to have the self-motivation, that self-internal drive to want to change for themselves. And unfortunately, most people won't change until they hit rock bottom, and until, you know, they've hit rock bottom and they, like, have no other choice but to change. I mean, it's right at the beginning of the video chat. I know, unless you've been sticking around for the past 2 hours, you never heard this one, but I mentioned one of my coaching students, Paul. Like, he didn't start working out till he was 60, in his 60s. And the reason he did is because he went through a whole lifetime, 60 years of neglecting his health and fitness, eating like crap, no exercise. He almost died of a heart attack, right? Like, the paramedics brought him back to life on his living room floor after his wife called the ambulance, right? Like, I wrote up a case study sharing his results on my website. If you want to go check it out, it's right up on my main leehayward.com website. But, like, the man almost died. And then, because he almost died, like, and the paramedic who revived him said, they looked at him and they said, you know, you've been given a gift, right? You're back to life again. Like, you have another shot at life. You have a second chance at life. What are you going to do with it? And those words just burned right to his core, because, I mean, he's seen death. Like, he thought he was going to die right there on his living room floor, you know, right in front of his wife. And I mean, when he's seen that and he was thinking about, okay, he has his children, his family, and everybody else, and he's just going to lose all that, that struck him so deep that he said, I have to change. And from that point forward, he made a change. It was like this, but he had to hit rock bottom first. Like, the whole thing of, oh, I'd like to lose weight, I'd like to get in shape, I'd like to feel better, I'd like this, that wasn't motivating enough. None of that was motivating enough. He had to hit rock bottom, like, look death in the eyes, and then say, okay, now you got a second chance. What are you going to do with it? And he decided to take action. And now, I mean, he's totally transformed himself. He's lost like 50 pounds of body weight, totally improved his health and fitness. I mean, like, he's a different man. He's like chalk and cheese, night and day. Like he's totally transformed, and he did it in his 60s, right? And it just shows that you can do that, but like nobody could have motivated him. He had to motivate himself, and that applies to anybody. You can't motivate somebody. That has to be something from within. Like I've had so many conversations with people over the past year, people who desperately need help, but they're just, I don't know, they know they need to do it, but they just won't do it. Like everybody who smokes cigarettes knows they should quit cigarettes, but they just don't. Right? They just, oh, maybe I'll quit, maybe I'll this, maybe I'll that. And then all of a sudden when the doctor says, okay, you have cancer, or, you're going to, you have some serious life-threatening illness, then all of a sudden the pain becomes so great, then they all of a sudden decide, oh, I better quit smoking. And that's their motivation. Like, unfortunately, sometimes the damage is already done by the time they hit that rock bottom. Not everybody is like Paul, where they get a legit second chance at life, right? Sometimes the damage is done and you're too far gone, and then you're just going to, it's too late. But you have one of the things that I've found works well. I mean, I've used it for myself and I've used it for coaching students. Try and visualize where you're going, like the path you're going down right now. Like if someone's overweight and out of shape, visualize the worst case scenario. Like visualize, where are you going to be in 10 years if you keep down this path that you're on? Like, let's just say someone's 50 pounds overweight, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugar. In 10 years time, like they're a heart attack waiting to happen. They're diabetic waiting to happen, right? Like cancer, stroke, heart attack, something. Like your bodies can't take shit and abuse. Like it's like if you neglect the maintenance on your car, eventually the thing is going to break down and crap out on you. Same with your body. If you neglect the maintenance on your body, eventually the thing's going to break down, right? So you kind of like have to visualize the worst case scenario. Like take yourself down that negative road and feel the pain. Feel the devastation that it's going to cause, not just to you, but to your family, your loved ones, and everything else. Going from being the man of the house, the breadwinner, taking care of your family, to being, bedridden, a burden to your family, unable to work, unable to bring in an income, just like, again, going from the man of the house to now you're just a total burden, like who everybody else has to tend on. So instead of helping, you're just the biggest hindrance. And we've all known people like that. I mean, if you can visualize that and say, like, I don't want to be that person, that might be your motivation to turn things around. But, that's a hard one. That is a hard one. You can't want it more for somebody than they want it for themselves, right? It has to be an internal self-motivation to change. So I wish I had a better answer for you than that. Like you say, oh, you can do this, and then someone will start working out again or whatever. But it's not that simple. It's really not. It has to be, they have to want it for themselves. All you can do is lead by example, and hopefully they'll be motivated by your example. All right, guys. Well, we broke the 2-hour mark. And on that, I think I'm going to clue it up. I mean, we've got a lot of still more questions coming through. I'm just going to scroll through. All right, well, I'm going to clue up on one more question here before we stop. This one's from Dave, and it's basically busting a myth. He says, I hear so many people say eating late is bad for you and only eat up until a certain time. What's your opinion? Your body doesn't have a clock. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not like, oh, I'm going to burn body fat until 6 p.m. and then after 6 p.m. I'm going to store body fat. Like, no, it doesn't. Like, it's calories in versus calories out over the long term. Like, it doesn't matter if you're eating morning, noon, or night. Like, if you're in a calorie deficit, it doesn't matter if you're eating at 12 midnight or you're eating at 12 noon or you're eating at 6 a.m. or if you're eating spaced out throughout the day. If you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to burn fat. You're going to tap into burning stored body fat. If you're in a calorie surplus, like you could wake up in the morning and eat like a massive breakfast and be in a calorie surplus. And if you're in a surplus, it doesn't matter that you ate early in the morning or you ate midday or you ate midnight. The time does not matter. It's what you eat is what matters. So this whole thing, like I hear that was a stupid myth that was going around. Like I remember back when I started working out, people say, "Oh, don't eat after 6 p.m. because you're going to get fat." Like, bullshit. I mean, it's not like your body doesn't have a clock to say, "Oh, the food that I eat before 6 p.m. that's going to be muscle growth food, and the food that I eat after 6 p.m. that's going to be body fat food." No, It doesn't work that way. It's calories in versus calories out over the long term, right? And again, over the long term, like, I mean, I'm not just talking about like over the hours. I'm talking about like over the days, weeks, and months. Like, here's another drawback that a lot of people make. They might eat clean 6 days a week. Like, let's just say, you know, you're eating right, you're exercising, you're doing everything that you're supposed to do 6 days a week. And then on the weekend, you have your cheat day, right? You know, like whatever it is. Let's just say Sunday is your cheat day. So let's just say you have a 500 calorie a day deficit every, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then on Sunday, say, oh, this is it. This is my reward, my cheat day, and I'm going to eat whatever I want. And then on that cheat day, you end up eating like a 3,000 calorie surplus on your cheat day because you went out to an all-you-could-eat breakfast buffet and you had bacon and eggs and pancakes and sausage, and then you went out to burger and fries for lunch, and then you went out to a Chinese buffet for supper, and then you had ice cream and potato chips for your evening snack or whatever. You just have this massive calorie surplus on your cheat day. You could literally cancel out your entire week's worth of fat loss on that one day, because over the course of the long term, like over the course of the week, if you end in a surplus, then you're still going to gain fat, or you're at least not going to lose fat, right? So it's the overall average. The time of the day or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's the long-term average that matters. So as long as you're doing more to move you in the right direction than you are negative to hold you back, and that's the biggest thing. So that's a total myth that's, you know, should be busted. In fact, I'll give you the ideal scenario. This is the way that I like to eat personally. When I wake up in the morning, I like to eat. When I go to bed, I like to eat. I can't go to sleep on an empty stomach. I find if my belly is growling, I'm hungry when I can't sleep well. Like I just don't sleep well when I'm hungry. I need to have some food in my belly in order to kind of like relax and have a good night's sleep. So I usually eat in the morning and I eat before I go to bed. Throughout the midday, I will have a couple meals in throughout the day based on my hunger and my schedule, right? Like usually it's a dinner with the family, or, you know, maybe, you know, lunch or something like that. But that's very typical of me. Like something when I wake up in the morning, have a lunch, dinner, and then something before I go to bed. Like that's a typical day for me. And I usually like to do it that way. So space it out, right? And I find that when you do space it out, it helps to keep your blood sugar more stable, and you're less likely to binge eat. Because I've also went to the other extreme where I used to do intermittent fasting, and it worked for a while, you know, especially when I started it. But what I ended up finding was happening is I would get so hungry that once I did start eating, I couldn't control my appetite once I went into my quote unquote feeding window from intermittent fasting. So I'd end up overeating within my feeding window, and that would be bumping me out of the calorie deficit. I find it's easier to control my appetite if I eat frequent smaller meals throughout the day. I usually go for like 4 or 5 meals or meals/snacks. So breakfast, and then before bed, and then I'll have maybe 2 or 3 feedings in between throughout the day based on my hunger and schedule. So that's usually what works for me. And I find that when I space it out like that, it prevents me from getting to that point where I'm ravishingly hungry and just want to keep eating. Whereas when I was intermittent fasting and I go through like hours on end without eating, and then as soon as I start eating, it's like, man, I couldn't stop. And even though I was eating good, healthy food, I just was eating such large quantities of it that I very often bumped myself out of a calorie deficit. And I got to the point where I was intermittent fasting, but I hit a plateau. I just wasn't losing any weight with it. And it went on like that for months. I was kind of like just stuck. I was maintaining my weight, but I wasn't getting any leaner. And then when I switched to a more frequent eating plan, like I just mentioned, then that spiked my metabolism, helped to control my appetite, and took my fat loss to another level. So there, that concludes it, guys. It was a great video chat. Again, this is to conclude the 2019. I really enjoy doing these chats, and I'm going to keep going, you know, in 2020 with the weekly video chats. Like as always now, I'll have the replay of this posted up. I'll get the you know, the questions and the timestamps posted up. I know it's going to be a big one, right? But it's going to be nice to have the timestamps for all the different questions in case you want to go back and review this video chat afterwards. And I just want to let you know, from now on, the video chats are no longer at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. They're going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So I bumped it ahead or bumped it back, whatever, a half an hour. And the reason for that is because on Friday afternoons, my son is at daycare, and when we pick him up from daycare and everything else, it's always a bit of a rush. So I wanted to bump the video chat back an extra half hour just to give me some time, because what I found over the last few months is I was very often running a bit late when I tried to have them at 3:30. But so from now on, they're always going to be 4 p.m. Eastern time every Friday. So, I mean, if you want, put that in your calendar, mark it down. I mean, it's going to be pretty consistent unless I'm traveling or there's some, family emergency comes up that I can't do the video chat, which I'll usually post about on my social media or post up on the YouTube channel in advance to let you know. But you can pretty much bank on it that every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to be having a video chat like this and having a conversation, right? Shooting the shit and having a conversation to try and get you in your best shape for 2020. So there we go, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I certainly did. And have yourself a fantastic New Year. Again, hopefully you had a great Christmas. I know we didn't even talk about the holidays, but hopefully you had a good one. And I'll be talking to you next year. Take care. Over and out.